Hey there, Next Gen Millionaires. This is Joe Burns, and this week I got a good conversation. Pretty happy about what it is we're going to talk about today. For those who don't know me, again, my name is Joe Burns. I'm the Money Master. I help you unlock the insights you already have locked inside of you, right? When it comes to money and mindset, and especially mastery around it. We got a lot inside of us. We know what we're doing, but sometimes we just need a little bit different perspective to help unlock it and bring it out. So welcome. Glad you're watching. As always, if you like the content, please like and subscribe. So every time I upload a video, you know that it's there and you can catch it. And as always, comment in below on any questions you have around today's video or about any other subjects you want me to talk about. I love when people ask me questions because it gives me an idea of what you really want to hear. Right? There's lots I can talk about when it comes to money and mindset and all this. But when you ask me questions, I know that's what's on your mind, right? There are no stupid questions. So put that out there. All the questions are actually legit and important because it teaches us so much about what's going on in here. There's a lot, and sometimes we always can't see it. So that's today's question. So today's conversation was actually a client of mine, and then somebody else mentioned something to me too. So I'm like, there's a couple people, right? So this is actually a really good conversation to have because if there's a couple who are specifically asking, hey, Joe, what about this? Then I know there are more of you out there who maybe not even thinking about it, but it definitely, as you think about it, it will elicit some thoughts around how you feel. Okay. So this week is all about events as we were children. Okay. So the specific one was around a birthday question, right? And it was around, I had this birthday experience when I was, preteen time frame. And my adult brain really gets what's happening, but there's part of me that can't reconcile, right? What that really means. And we talked about it. We had a good conversation, came up with some stuff. But I want to talk about these events that we have as children, right? And the expectations we might set and the programming that we get and the things that we decide are truth when necessarily that's not really the truth, but it's the truth as we see it as children. And what can be dangerous with this, right? With everything as children, when we don't go back and challenge those belief systems, is that we heard it, it got translated, we understood it some way in our brains, and then we determined that this version of what we were told is the way things have to be. Okay? So our parents tell us something or a teacher teaches us something. It goes through our filter of understanding as children. And then again, we create these ideas and perceptions, these rules for our lives, and we just live by them. And the biggest problem is we never, as adults or as we grow up, we never challenge them regularly, right? There may be some things that happen, some trauma, some other things that force us to look at them, at these programs we've made. But what happens later is we don't specifically do this. That's why I love journaling exercises to try to figure things out. A few weeks ago and on other live streams and things I've done, I talked a lot about the dentist. I've processed a lot of my dental trauma. It's things I've done, right? Because I figured out hey, I made some rules about how I should behave at the dentist. And one was with a lot of anxiety and craziness, right? That I just had to get through it so that I could get my teeth healthy, but through my own processing and understanding some bad stories and some experiences that I didn't necessarily like, right? I created some trauma around that. And I've been able to process that, and the experience is much better now at the dentist. So I actually enjoy going now. It's not such a, anxiety-inducing event. So let's go back to the client and the birthday. So again, a lot of things that happen with us and money are all created through traumatic events. Now, we could sit and define what trauma is. We could say, trauma is on a sliding scale, right? There are people would identify as super traumatic or not so traumatic, right? And I'm not going to define that today because here's the deal. Our bodies, our minds, we're going to perceive the trauma we live through as what happened to us. And that doesn't like, it doesn't matter what the outside world thinks. It's what happened to us. So we're going to create that response. Okay. And that's just that. And we have to be okay with that. So when events happen, they can easily trigger some trauma because we have expectations as children that certain things should go the way we fantasize that they should. Okay? We've created an end game. And creating fantasies about how events should turn out is not bad. Right? I encourage people all the time to do visioning exercises where you write a story of how you want your life to be in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years. Right? That's a type of fantasy kind of exercise. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as children, we do this. Right? We create this idea of how we want something. So if it's a birthday, if it's a special day, like the first day of school, if it's the last day of school, if it's their summer vacation, if it's some special trip to, I don't know, Disneyland, or for me growing up, it was Yellowstone, right? We've had an idea and we might be able to ask questions but we still form our own opinion around what it is that we want to have happen. Now, here's something that usually doesn't happen is we don't ask questions along the way, or as children, we don't feel like we can be heard. So when we have an idea that, oh, we want to go like X, Y, and Z, and it ends up going like A, B, and C because that's really what the plan was the whole time, and our parents didn't like clue us into the plan, then we feel like it was a bad experience. So here's where the pieces and the trauma start coming up around money, because a lot of these things of how we fantasize trips as children, or how we fantasized how we want life to be, requires money. Now, we don't always understand, or rarely understand, how our parents' finances were. And so we just, again, through that lens, right? We just try to see like it should be like what we envisioned. And it's not always that way. It's rarely that way, actually, even in life as an adult. Like, you can have an idea of what you want to go do, like if you have a vacation plan, but guess what? We got to be a little flexible with what happens, because rarely does it ever go out exactly as we envision it. Right? And as adults, we're a little more, we're able to pivot a little bit more and change it up a bit. But as children, we set it and we're so excited and things happen. And so when they don't happen, it can be traumatic. And when it doesn't happen because we think because it was, oh, my parents can afford it, or it's money related, then we start to create associations with bad experiences of money. Okay? So looking at this, it can be one pivotal moment in your life that created the story for which you live by the rest of your life. My challenge for you is really to take and say, hey, what events, like, was it like one event? Was it multiple events? Was it one that like continued on that now set up my life as an adult a certain way? Because I'm going to guarantee that there are things that happened in your childhood that you're still living by today, that you still make decisions by today that's really not helping you. And as you start looking at those things, then we can start to look and say, hey, was this rational thinking? Is this a real rule that I'm living by? Or is this something that I need to evaluate and possibly create a new rule or rewrite the old one? And it's so crazy that what the people that work with me think that, oh, there's so much work that has to be done, internal processing and all this personal development work. And there's some stuff that happens. But it really can't just be one story that has created a bunch of turmoil that we continue to believe in that's necessarily true, right? We truly are just one story away from success. There's one or two events in our lives that are really holding us back from doing that next big thing. Now, it's not to say that those things and that processing is going to help us do all the things, right? Then we're going to find other things that are holding us back. If not, we're not growing. But as we continue to grow as humans, we can continue to uncover the trauma that we're living by, that we're just pushing through, or that we've shelved to deal with one day, but that day hasn't showed up, so we're just going to like leave that there, right? It becomes those monsters in the closet. So again, my challenge for you this week, as you're watching this, really think about how you live your life today and what from your childhood experiences, right? This is all going to be couched in experiences where like a birthday didn't go like you wanted it to, did like where you got a present that you weren't like that wasn't what you really wanted, right? It doesn't make it right or wrong, but what we're talking about are the emotions that are coming up, what you wanted versus what you got. Was there a trip that you thought should have went differently, right? And then next, say, okay, was this blamed on money? What were the reasoning behind it, right? What did you pick up as the reasoning behind it? Because the truth is irrelevant at this point. Your perception is way more important because it's what you're living your life by. Now, a lot of times people get perception and truth mixed up. But again, your perceptions are the truth of your world. So if we start to change those, then your truth changes. Makes sense? So look at that. If you need a journal, be like, hey, you can journal about it and just like try to figure it out. But one experience in your life can totally change a lot of things. Going back and evaluating those experiences can change much more. So be brave this week, be bold, figure out what it is that's causing you to kind of hold back and what that next big thing you want to do is. Because I promise you, as you do that, you're going to start to see quick success in the next endeavor, the next thing you're trying to go after. And the funny thing is most of us blame that on money, that we don't have enough money. If we had more money, things would be different, but it really has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with you and how you experience the world and how you interact with the world. So it's time to start changing that. And as you do that, money will show up for you. So I'd love to hear about your stories, your questions and all that in the comments. Until next week, we'll see you later. Bye.